Welcome one and all to this 34th episode of D&D with me, Mike.
And me, Zoe.
And today we are going to fix these spikes once and for all. So we discovered a few interesting problems. Number one, we don't actually need to step on the switch to activate it. We just need our vision cone to collide with it. And as you can see, the door goes down. So that's one problem, which means you can actually open this by simply walking to here. Obviously, that needs to be fixed. The other problem that we've got is that when we go back, these reset and they go back to down and up, etc. There's also this little jumping that happens right on top, which can lead to all sorts of painful stuff. You'll see now if I walk straight, we're going to get to there. See? And I'm in the jumping thing. It can also happen when you leave. There you go.
See?
You're in the jumping position. So there's a few bugs we need to fix. And yeah, I say let's start fixing some bugs first and then we'll worry about other stuff. Okay, so first of all, I want to take a look at that player prefab. I want to know why the vision cone is hitting anything. Okay, so this one has the awareness module and it's player awareness. Okay. Player, fine. So one of these is gonna have there's the mesh collider for our cone. Right now, how come that's triggering the other thing? Let's check the project settings and physics. So in the physics, interactive object can be affected by player awareness. I wonder why. There must have been a reason. I don't know that I want to make a change here. But perhaps it shouldn't be an interactive object. Perhaps it should be something like a floor plate.
Maybe.
Or some kind of, some trigger area. Something like that. Yeah, let's call it the trigger area. This will allow us to do all sorts of cool things later. So let's call it the trigger area, and perhaps it will be for players. I mean, this one is for players and enemies, but perhaps we can limit it to enemies only or players only or whatever in the future. But yeah, let's create a new thingy, a new layer. So interactive object, we're gonna add a layer. Call this one trigger area.
We stopped doing underscores.
Trigger area, yes. The reason why we stopped doing underscores is because it gets parsed wrong and then you can't see it, and that's annoying. So we're gonna go here and change it from interactive object to trigger area, and we're gonna say yes. Now, one worry that we've got now is how is this all going to work? Well, I think it's gonna work just fine actually. It's not gonna care. But the physics settings are gonna be important. So we're just gonna make it so that the player and the enemy can hit this trigger area and nothing else for now. So let's immediately, without even thinking, undo everything. Actually leave player and enemy and everything else goes. Ta-da! No problem. Everything is gone. So now only the player and an enemy can interact with the switch.
Yeah.
Let's see if that's the case. Go to the second world. Okay, so I'm just gonna go to the closest switch here because it's the easiest one to see. So I'm gonna make sure I'm staring at it. Staring at it. It's not opening. It's not opening. It's opening now.
It'll be tested now.
And this is the perfect test. Nothing. We can't go through.
Yep.
Okay, so that's perfect. It's working as intended. Now, the saving, that's complicated. And here's why it's complicated. We need two types of saves. Remember how when you save, you spawn somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the problem is, suppose you have a switch that triggers one door, and it only happens once. If you then die and spawn in the previous place, and you've opened the door stays open. That's a problem.
Yeah.
If we're gonna load the save, we need to be able to sort of keep track of the state of each door
Okay.
somehow. And that's not obvious.
Okay.
Because saving the state of the doors and switches, that's easy. But saving them temporarily, that's not that easy.
You forgot to record.
That's
again.
okay, we're just gonna grab the VOD, who cares?
Okay.
So, yeah, that could be a problem. Need to think it through. Now, the only way I see to do this is to have some kind of local tracking of all of these types of objects by the game manager that also keeps track of their current state
Okay.
somehow. And it would have to be when we add the spike, when we add spikes and switches to the map, and we set them up, right?
Mhm.
They should also set themselves up in the game manager, who is going to be keeping track of this information.
Oh.
Nothing happened there. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a private list of spikes. And call it list_spikes. Semicolon. Okay, wait a moment. Now there could be a better way of doing this. Instead of a list of spikes, we could do a dictionary of spikes. The problem is the dictionary of spikes won't necessarily know both pieces of information in its key. So the way a list works, as you know, it's basically a number of things, right?
Yeah.
Whatever it is. Now a dictionary is a number of things that instead of being listed by int, meaning item 0, item 1, item 2, etc.,
Yeah.
is listed by a certain identifier that you can specify. So in our case, we could give you the information for our world coordinates and also our tile coordinates. Actually, we could do it with a vector 4. So we could do the first two parts of the vector x and y for the world coordinates,
Mhm.
and then z and w, our second two.
What is W?
W is the fourth coordinate. Z and W we could use for the tile coordinates. I think that would actually work.
I meant what dimension is it?
The fourth one. You could technically have an infinite dimensions. It's just you as a human being only understand 3 of space. The fourth one is time, if I understand correctly.
Oh.
This is way beyond my pay grade. I don't know.
Okay.
Okay, but yeah. So let's change this one to dictionary. Yeah, and here you need to tell it vector for int or vector for int comma spikes. Okay, TK, why do you not like it? It could not be found. Oh, hello. Apparently vector for ints don't exist. What a pain. Just go with vector for it. Okay, save. Apparently they haven't invented the struct vector for int. That's funny. It doesn't particularly matter, but it's okay. So instead of list, call it dict. Save. And then copy all of this. Paste it right here. And instead of spikes, put a switch. And list switches. Or dict switches. Yeah. So we have these dictionaries. Awesome. Now, when we start, we should probably set up those immediately. So copy this, paste it here, equals new,
Dictionary.
hit tab right away, open, close round, semicolon.
Oops. I think I did not press save.
That's right. And copy this, paste here, equals, and new, space tab, open, close round, semicolon. Okay, so we've initialized both the dictionaries right away. Now what we need to do is we need to add those elements to our to ourselves here. And that's because we are gonna have to be able to actually check what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here you're gonna say public void add spikes
And one for switches.
yeah, but you're gonna need a spike here. Yeah, save for a moment. Now let me take a look if spikes. So spikes is receiving the world coordinates but isn't storing them. It would be intelligent for us to store them. So add a public copy, paste, copy, space, paste, semicolon. Now let's use the trick that many people use, which is an underscore. And an underscore. Save. And copy this entire thing. Paste it here. Copy this. Paste it here. Remove the underscore. Save. Now you can tell it what they are. So you can copy world coordinates. Paste it here. Equals underscore world coordinates.
Yeah.
There it is. Hit tab. I mean semicolon. Yeah. And
Yeah, the quadrant.
the fastest way to do this is copy this, paste it, equals, paste again, semicolon. Now obviously this is a nonsensical statement, but all you gotta do is do this. Save. Okay, so now we have them and we could go peruse them if we want to. Okay, so inside the game manager, what we're gonna do is we're gonna construct that vector4 first. So here you're gonna type vector4, call it ID, equals new vector4, yeah, open around. So we said x and y are gonna be our world coordinates. So it's gonna be s dot world coords dot x, comma, s dot world coords dot y. Now these will be automatically cast to a float. You know how I usually make you explicitly cast to floats every time? It's not gonna be an issue now. And the reason why it's not gonna be an issue is because whether it sees them as ints or floats, I have absolutely no interest. Okay. Okay, let's move on. So the next one is s dot.
We said quadrant chords.
Quadrant chords, yeah. Dot x. In comma. S dot quadrant chords dot y. Close the round, semicolon. Save. Okay, so we got the ID. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna check if the dictionary contains the ID. So you're gonna say if dictionary of spikes dot contains key, open round, ID. Close the round, open a squiggly. Close round again, my bad. Open a squiggly, and save. Actually, we're gonna check if it doesn't contain. Save. And we're gonna say dictionary of spikes. Now open square bracket, I think, and it wants that ID. Now you see, in the square brackets, you actually put whatever the key is, not an int as you normally would. You wouldn't say I or 0 or something. So ID, close square bracket, equals. Oh wait, if it doesn't contain the ID, that is a potato. Dot add open, paste, ID, my bad, ID, whoa, ID, comma, S, close, run, semicolon. So this is how you add a spike. Now, let me think this through. So when you add a spike, it will add it, but I don't think that's what we actually want. What we actually want is we want to get the information whether the thing is open or closed. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So we need to get the spike status, and inside it we're going to add the spike. So here, instead of this, change this to bool. And here change add spikes to get spike status. That's a okay, get spike status. Now as you can see, it's unhappy, but here we're gonna add this particular spike, and see, this is going to be a problem. This spikes over here is not going to actually remember whether it's open or closed, because it's actually going to change, and in fact it's going to become null eventually. So having the spikes like this, not particularly useful. What instead we're going to do is we're going to change our dictionary from this to a boolean here, and a boolean here as well. Save. Now we have a few errors. This one needs to be boolean, and this one needs to be boolean. So what is this dictionary save? What are these dictionaries going to do? They're going to record all of the coordinates necessary to know what you're looking at.
Yeah.
Well, the dictionary itself knows it's about spikes, and then whether the spikes are open or closed. In the case of the switches, whether the switches are pressed or unpressed.
Yeah.
Okay. So here, obviously, this doesn't work because we're adding S. So what you want to do here is to do S dot open. Save. All right, so that's pretty good. And what we're going to do here is we are going to we're going to return.
Yeah. Here, I need to send something back.
Copy, paste, open square bracket, ID, close, semicolon. So what this does is it will return a boolean, okay, on that ID, whichever boolean you have, whether active, inactive, whatever it is. This also means we need to update the spike status. So this is get spike status, and we should have some kind of update spike status. So here you're going to create another public bool, call it update spike status, request a spike, request a spike, S, save, and we're going to say that the dictionary for spikes needs to have this information. Well, we need to construct the ID first, so copy all of this, basically, and we're gonna say dict.spikes. Oh wait, I don't trust this. Copy this again, paste it. Okay, now copy this, paste it, a square bracket ID, close, equals, s dot open, semicolon. And it doesn't need to be bool, this is a void. Save. So this is to update the spike status. Now, I've just realized something. It doesn't matter, never mind. Yeah, it's fine. The interactive entity, does it have... it doesn't. Okay, well, let's just stay with this for now. Sorry, I'm thinking. All right, the issue that I have with this is that updating the spikes and updating the switches, it's all going to look very similar. And it's going to be a bit repetitive as code, which I'm not a huge fan of.
We're going to have to copy these functions too, right?
Yeah, and they're kind of silly, some of them. I mean, for example, the construction of the vector 4.
At this rate, we should just save it in.
No, we could create a simple little method that just returns that. this as well. Whatever, let's leave it as it is for now. Copy this entire thing, paste it here, save. Okay, so this one's gonna be switch. This is gonna be switch. This is gonna be switch with a capital S. Copy this, copy, paste it here. And instead of open, it's pressed. Okay, apparently switch does not have pressed as public. Make it public. Save.
Oops. And it does not have world chords and all that.
Yep. No problem. Here put pressed. And here put pressed. Save. Okay, now world chords, etc. Well, all we're gonna do to fix this is we're gonna go to the spikes, copy these two. Save. And
Now we need to put them there. Sign
we are
them.
going to go to the spikes, copy these two,
Oops. Wait, I pasted.
undo, copy, and paste, save. Put an underscore here, and one over here, save. Okay, so that's looking good. Now you see here it's saying pressed equals false. That's not exactly right. Cut this, put it here, save. All right, save. Now pressed, we're gonna have to go check. So we're gonna go to game manager, dot script, dot get switch, whatever. There it is, status. Open round. What are you gonna feed it?
We need to feed it the
It needs a switch. So how do you? Which one do you feed it?
this ourselves.
That's
We're
correct.
switches.
This. Close the round. Save. All right, so that's one. And inside spikes, see open says false.
Yep.
Figure out what to do.
So
Game manager.
dot script dot
Dot. You need to get the status.
oh yeah, so get psych. And then we need a spike in this case, so this as well because now we're in the spike script.
Correct. Okay, so now open should be correct. Now let's quickly check how this is gonna work. So it's gonna come here and it's gonna say, all right, let me go and get the current status. If the status doesn't exist, oh boy, we've got ourselves a problem. I need to go and change it.
And so we changed it.
Right? Well, rather, it's going to first check, do I even exist? If the answer is no, okay, create me, okay, with the current status, which is a bit dodgy because it always starts as false, which is fine, really. The default status should be false. Now, this is not entirely right. And the reason why it's not entirely right is because we should go and check first the situation with the save files, which we haven't done yet.
Mm-hmm.
So we should probably immediately hop onto that particular task of the save files. So save context item, player ref set int item ID state, blah blah blah. Okay, so int state, that's exactly basically what we want. It's going to be a context item and a check context item. Both of these are correct. Both of these are exactly what we want. So the way we're going to do this is the same way as we've done it before. So hit Control F to look for this. And let's go find who has it. So treasure chest, for example, there you go. It saves the thing. Now it's got a save name. This save name is constructed right at the beginning right here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an interesting save name because it says world coordinates, quadrant coordinates. I'm a fan of this, but I don't like something. What if for whatever reason at some point we decide actually I will allow for the possibility of two things to be in the same coordinates? Then you've got the problem that this is really not going to function because you do not know which item you're looking at. Okay, so we should add the type of item to here. So let's add the word treasure. So quote treasure, lowercase, underscore, close quote, space plus. Alright, that's good. Now that's the save name. Let's copy the save name. Let's go to the switch and paste it. Save. I know it doesn't work. We'll fix it. Paste it here as well. Save. Okay, so for okay, here they're called chords and here we call them coordinates, so that's a problem. Just remove this, remove this, remove this, remove this. Okay, now only save name is an error. That's okay. We could have done a find and replace for this, but there's so few that we might as well do it this way. Save. Actually, save all. Now spikes doesn't have save name. Well, nothing could be easier. We're just gonna go here, copy this entire thing, and paste it here.
No,
it's
I'm trying to save.
Paste it here. And now we can save all of them. Alright, so we got the save name. Now quadrant chords.
We've got another error. Switch does not contain a definition for quadrant chords. And
I think I can see what's happening. Copy this. I think I may have mistakenly clicked the previous line as well. Save. And now it's happy. Okay, so now we got the save name, which means we can actually go and deal with all of the saving and loading and blah blah blah. Right? It's just gonna be a matter of when we save and when we load, etc. And the way we save and we load the switches is going to be a little bit different. Let me think for a second. Yes, so only the first time we will load from the save file. All the other times we will load for the temporary save, which is this dictionary over here.
Yeah.
Okay, but so we're gonna have to worry about saving it whenever we do, and we will save it every time we hop onto a different spawn point. So when you trigger a new spawn point, it saves the switches until then.
Yeah, but we don't have any spawn points anywhere.
Yeah, I know.
We'll have
That's
to edit our map.
but not only that, they also don't work.
Yeah.
Right, so there's a few problems. Okay, now it's the update of spike status that's important to us, and also get switch status. Well, no, actually it's get spike status and switch status. These are the only two that are important. This one's wrong because it's assuming the situation from the spikes, and that's not what we want. What we need to do is we need to go get it from the context. Okay, so we're gonna check the context item, and if player pref says key, it does that, otherwise it returns false. Okay, so there's a problem here. We're always going to get false, and it's not really going to tell us whether the context item does or does not exist. So that's an issue. Also, this name over here, the save name, is created here, but it's private. This should be public. Save. And it should be public here too. Not that I like this, but whatever. Save. Okay, so back to the game manager. So here we need to basically do this check one more time here. So copy this entire thing. Paste it here. Close. Save. Now item ID doesn't exist. You want to go to s.savename. Okay, so if this exists, then we know it's good, it's reliable, it's fine, right? So cut this, put it in here, and here you're gonna go copy this, paste it here, open round, s.savename, close round. All right. Else, if it does not exist, yeah, save. Okay. Save. And what we can do instead is save context item, set int ID, item ID, state. Oh, and there's also going to be another situation. When we save these switches, we need to save absolutely all of them. all at the same time when we hop on the teleport, because the teleport could be in a room, not the teleport, I'm sorry, the saving point could be in a room, right? Where there are no switches, but you crossed 4 rooms with different switches. So we need to save every single one part of the dictionary. So it's something to keep in mind. Okay?
Okay.
Alright, save context item. Yeah, we should do that with the item ID and the state. So copy this, paste it here, open around, s.savename, comma false. Close around, semicolon. Alright, now cut this, paste it here. Save. Now it's not, oh, sorry, comma 0. No. 0, the number. It only accepts ints, floats, or strings. Okay, so 0, and then it adds, then it checks the context item when we know it exists. Okay, I'm fine with that. Yeah, that's good. So if it doesn't exist, put a no here, exclamation mark. Yeah. All right, that's much better. Now copy this entire thing, paste it, not here, but here. And dict spikes, oops, we had the wrong dictionary here. So it would be dict switch. There it is, copy it, paste it, and paste it, save. Okay, save context item, s save name. Yeah, that's all fine. One thing we forgot is here, it's still called treasure. This is switch, in lowercase. We6. Switch, save. And then spikes, you want spikes or spike, up to you. Okay, save. Perfect. So now these are going to be saved correctly. And then once they're saved, when we load them for the first time, we load them with that piece of information. Then we know it exists. Okay, we're good. Update spike status. Okay, that's good. Now we need to call these whenever stuff is happening. So here when you press the switch, owner start open, map script unpress related switches, we need to bear this in mind too. So here we need to say game manager.script.update status update switch status. There it is. One down, open round, and
now
it's
we need
this.
switch, so this.
Close, semicolon. Save. Now let's, before we do that, we need to unpress every other one. So this one also, they also need to be updated. So it's going to be SW in this case. So you want to go game manager.script.update switch status. Yeah, one down, open round, SW. Close round, semicolon. All right, so that's one. Now for the spikes, same thing. When you start open, right here, you want to go to game manager .script.update switch status, and it's going to be this.
But we're in spikes.
Sorry, update spike status. I think it's spikes. Yeah, and then this.
Now this.
It may be spike without the S. Yeah. Okay, sounds good. So let me think this through now. What could go wrong? Well, one thing that could go wrong is start open. It depends on Insta. So that's a worry. Because it updates it. But here first it gets it. So it should be safe-ish. Yes. Start open, transportation. I don't see issues. I'm not sure. Who calls start open? Hit Control F. So I'm a bit worried because I think this will exist in other places. Okay, the switch is doing it. Press switch. Okay, so that's just active.
Treasure chest is doing it.
Yeah.
Player's doing it.
Hit Control R twice here. and call spikes. Yeah, hit enter. And now hit Control F. Alright.
Okay,
So
switch.
and nothing else. Okay, so when they're set up for the first time, we're gonna have a problem because we're actually not really doing this. That's not great. In setup, we actually need to start open spikes with insta. So here you're gonna say start open spikes. Yeah, open round, and you're gonna want open in here and comma true. Close round semicolon. Alright, that's much better, right? So now we're actually opening this safely, but the content is being updated only after it has been safely loaded first.
Okay.
So that's good. Now the second thing is what was that? Update switch. We'll worry about that in a second. So press switch. That's all good. In setup, I'm worried about. And for this one, we're just going to have to update it, actually, because it will depend on pressed. So just call update switch right now. Yeah, open, close out. Okay, there we go. We could also do a press switch, but this is fine. This is actually more correct. Update switch when it gets set up, and then we'll worry about that in a second. We are going to have to update the spikes material as well. This is something we need to worry about too. So switch, spikes, fine. Is everything working correctly? I am not certain. We're going to have to test this. Let me quickly go through it again, okay? So get spike status, finds the ID. Does the ID exist in the dictionary? If it does not exist in the dictionary, then check if it exists in the save file. If it does not exist in the save file, then save it in the save file first, and then add it from the save file. This is if it didn't exist. If it did exist, then return the current status. Okay. Update spike status. It just changes it in the dictionary and leaves the saves alone. I'm happy with that. So what we will need is we need some kind of like save all spikes and save all switches, right? So let's create a void for now. Space, call it save all spikes. Open, close round, semicolon. Yes. And what we're going to do here is we're going to go through each dictionary part. Now, in order to go through each dictionary part, we cannot use for.
Why?
Because the dictionary doesn't have an integer as a key.
Oh,
It
yeah.
has a key as a key. And the key could be something different. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a for each. That's going to work. So we go for each, hit tab twice. Now var, you want key value pair. There it is. Of type vector 4.
Yeah, there's no vector for it.
Comma. Bool. Close of type, and call this one K. In, and this is going to be the dictionary of the spikes. So copy this, paste it here, save. Right, so for as many of these as we have in the dictionary spikes, just do the thing. Okay, so we're going to say copy, save context item, paste, open round. Now we're going to need the name. The problem is the name doesn't really exist, so we're going to have to generate that name. So here you're going to type string name. Semicolon, yeah, it's good. Actually, give it a empty for now. Save. Okay, and now let's go grab the name from the spikes, just as we stole it here. So copy all of this. Now we're going back to here and paste it here. Copy name, paste it here, save. So world coordinates is now going to be in the key, right? So it's going to be K dot key dot, okay, it's already there, dot x to string. That's it. Now we want it to make absolutely sure that it's an int. So here, let's quickly cast it, create a mathf. Just you do it, mathf. Yeah, that's correct. Dot round to int. One down. To int. Open round and close it here. Save. Okay, copy this entire thing. Paste it here. Put a y. Paste it here, put a Z, and paste it here, put a W. Alright, save. Now we have all of the coordinates all stored correctly. So we have the correct name. Now we can save that name. So save context item, name, comma. Now it wants an int. And the int is going to depend on the boolean of the k. So it's going to be k.value. Yeah, k.value, question mark, because it's a boolean. So if it's true, what number do we send?
If it's true, we send
yes or no?
yes.
No, you don't understand. Smells like you don't understand. What happened
Because
there?
I don't.
Well then, say what bothers you? What's happening there?
Why 1 and 0? You said these don't use ints. These
No, I said they don't use
ints.
the dictionary isn't using the int. That's true, but your saving system does. The saving system doesn't use booleans.
So we have to make them into
Into ints, yes. Practically speaking, a boolean in binary language is also 0 and 1. False is 0 and true is 1.
Oh, okay. Well, that's I didn't understand.
That's
Thought
alright,
we would
but
have
at
to
any
put
rate,
true or false.
well, at any rate, if you had to say true or false, then you would just feed it this, because this one's going to be true. So here it says if k value is true, then give me 1. If k value is false, then give me 0. Right? And this is how it's going to work. So this little loop is going to save every single spike that we know exists in the dictionary, meaning a spike that we've at least encountered once. Save.
So that we've at least switched once.
Now copy all of this.
To do it for switches.
Yeah, paste it right here. Switches. Switches is it? Name. Okay, this one is the dictionary of switches. Switches dict. There it is. I got it. Switches. Save. So this is exactly the same. Instead
so
of
spikes
this,
turns switches.
no, I think it's switch singular.
I was trying to.
Save. The reason why spikes is plural is because of one object, right? It's one object with 4 spikes in it.
Yeah.
So it's more of a visual thing. This is all correct. This should all work immediately. Yeah. Cool. So save all switches, save all spikes. Yeah, save. Now, we won't be able to test this right away, but it's something we should worry about and very soon too. Now, let's immediately start working on our switches and their graphics, because otherwise we will forget and it's going to be a pain. So right here, we're going to go to our GIMP for the textures and its map pieces. Let's open this file. And inside this file, we've got our grass, we've got all of our little things, right? So
yeah.
Let's create one for our switches. Okay?
So they look slightly better than what we already had.
Yes. So new layer right here. And this layer we're going to call switch. And call it switch pressed. Now I like this, so copy this and paste it here. Okay, so this is switch pressed. I mean, it's not going to be like this, but this is a good place to start. So for the switch, what I think we're going to do is we're going to create some kind of black border. Okay.
Gotta make it small.
It's fine, as long as there's a selection, will be all right. So black border, that's fine. And now the rest is going to be grayscales. And the reason why it's going to be grayscales is because you need to be able to tint them,
What does tint mean?
color them, right? So our material is gonna get colored. So I'm picking some various shades of gray.
Yeah. I think you went a bit too far light.
Yeah, possibly.
There's a big pull up of white right in the middle.
Yeah, probably.
I don't think that's white, but anyway.
What's that?
No, it looks a bit better.
You know what I don't like? I don't like that there's no details on it. So let's copy the grass,
Except we're not going to use that.
paste it. Okay, colors desaturate. Luminosity is good. Okay. Now what we can do is we can change this to multiply. And now it's going to make it look like that. Now what we can do is we can do colors and brightness and increase the brightness drastically. Also increase the contrast.
I think we should change the details though. Don't think a switch would look like this.
What do you mean? It's a ruined switch made
you're
of
right.
made of rock. What it does suck a little bit, and I agree with you, is the central thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's not too bad. And then we can randomly rotate them if we want to. So this is the unpressed actually. So type UN.
Unrest. Unrest. Here.
Okay, call this switch multiplier. Yeah. Okay, so that's the switch unpressed. Now we're gonna duplicate this layer.
And now we need to make the pressed one.
Yeah, so just pressed. Alright, here we go. Here's the switch pressed. And the switch pressed needs to look deeper in the middle and less deep on the outside. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use the color picker. I'm gonna grab this one on the outside.
Maybe we could make it a different color.
What do you mean?
It's gray, looks like you have not pressed it. So maybe.
But it's not gonna be gray. You're really not understanding this. I told you it's gonna get multiplied by whatever color. Look, I'm gonna demonstrate it to you because you're not getting it. This is how it'll look like.
Oh, okay.
That's unpressed. That's pressed. Well, not at the moment. That's the current situation. Pressed. It's just. That's why you need the grayscale. Okay. So now we're gonna grab this one, and all I'm gonna do is I'm going to paint this one angle up here. Actually, no. Let me just paint everything around. Okay. And now back to this, and there, and bucket. All right, here we go. So this is the switch pressed and switch unpressed. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, now it does.
You think it may work?
It looks like it's a switch that's up and down.
I'm not sold.
But maybe you should.
Wait, what I think we'll do is we'll do this instead. We'll leave the outer edge the same color as it was, but the inner edge we're gonna make it even darker. There. So this is the press switch. This is the unpressed switch.
The unpressed switch looks like it's more in the sun, which is good.
Yes, it needs to be up, right? And this one is down. Yeah. So I think this is generally correct. Yeah. I do have a problem or two with these details that are a little bit extreme, but that's okay. It's fine.
If we're having rock chips, then maybe we should make it a bit darker, these details.
We can worry about that later. For now, it's fine. So hit Control-Shift-T and export this to switch pressed. So it's going to be map pieces. And here goes switch pressed. Hit enter. Export. My bad, that was unpressed. Hit Control-Shift-T again. And just change this to unpressed. Okay. And Control-Shift-T. Pressed. And off we go. Alright, so all of these switches are in. Now remember, we need to process all of these because they come in wrong. we need to give them exactly the same properties as these guys, right? So we're gonna select them both. We're gonna say point no filter. We're gonna say no compression. And what else have we done? Okay, they're identical. That's good. Switch unpressed. Now we need the materials. So the material in the map, entities, switch. There's the switch material. It has this thing. This is wrong. It needs to have switch unpressed. And that's how it looks like for now. Okay, so if we hit play and go take a look. There it is. Hey, that doesn't look half bad.
Yeah.
Right? Now, obviously, it's discolored for now, but if we go and change this material to red, for example, there it is.
That looks a bit better.
I kind of preferred it before. I think we're going to have to choose some very subtle colors. Like, I mean, we're going to have to indicate, hey, this is a switch somehow. So perhaps having more signifiers in it may be useful. So say, for example, an arrow pointing down on the switch or something like that. I'm not sure, right? But something that indicates, hey, this is a switch, because otherwise one goes like, okay, what is that? Right? It's not obvious to me at all that that's a switch. Let's check how the unpressed, rather pressed one looks like. Yeah, and I think that's definitely clear that that switch is down.
I think it gives me the idea that that's actually lower than the thing, even though it's just a slapped picture.
What? I didn't understand your point.
Okay, it gives me the idea that you have pressed the switch and it's now in the ground.
Okay, good. So it's correct.
That is what I meant.
All right. Good. So now one thing that we must do, well, there's a few things. First of all, we're going to have to customize all of these switch materials on the fly. And another thing that we'll have to do is we will have to change this texture, right? So we need to know that texture. I think the best guy to know that texture would be the game manager. So let's go with game manager. Is that a good idea? Maybe the map. Yeah, let's go with the map. Let's go with the map. Entities here. You're gonna say public texture 2D array. Yeah, and call this one switch textures. Semicolon. Now, another problem that we're going to have is determining the colors of the switches. So, why is this a problem? Because we've used the red channel on the red channel is used for rotation. That's right. I don't think it does anything on the switch, but it's something we'll worry about later.
The green channel is which switch corresponds to which spikes.
That's right.
And which means you have to use the blue channel.
No, wait a moment. No, that's not right. The blue channel is used for communication between switches and spikes.
Oh, yeah.
The green channel is unused. So that's the only channel that's left for us. All right, so we're going to use the green channel in the entity map in order to, entity info map, in order to tell our switches and spikes what color they're going to be. This means we can use that spectrum that goes between 0 and 1, and we always need to keep it inside our mind that it's actually between 0 and 255. Right? So we can go by what multiples? I don't actually know, because technically it would be 256. Kind of curious. So you would have increments of 51 divided by 255. That's 0.2. That's 20%. Yeah, well, that makes sense. So if we had 5 different colors for switches, do you think that would be sufficient for our game?
I think so.
Yeah, I would hope so. Worst case scenario, we can change the value there. So what you're going to do here is you're going to... Wait a moment, let me think. Yeah, and I don't think we need public this one. Let's make it serialized field private. And then we're gonna create another serialized field private, and you're gonna create a color array. And call this one switch spike colors. Colors. Semicolon. Okay. By the way, yeah, copy, paste, save. All right, so we have these. Let's go assign them right away. So inside the world, switch texture and switch spike colors. I've discovered a thing that I didn't know. I want to show you this trick. Check this out. Lock it like this, then select these and drag them here.
Nice.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know. Okay, so for the colors, nothing we can really do. So
We need
let's
to
do one.
unlock it now, right?
What do you mean?
You locked it. Don't we need to unlock it?
It's fine. You can stay locked for now. So what color should we have for the switches? I think it should be bright colors, and it should be colors that we are unlikely to use in the environment.
Purple?
That may be some kind of deadly goo in future.
Yeah. or
No,
poison.
I'm thinking about extremely bright colors. So colors that are kind of, something like this type of red, yeah.
Something that's unlikely to be put in grasslands and stuff.
Sure. And then this type of yellow. There. And then this type of green. And this type of blue.
Making a lot of
And then this type of purple. Right? So
neon colors.
all very sort of dead, very, very bright colors. Okay?
Yeah.
So there they go. Now that means we're gonna have to set that up. Well, we have everything we need. Okay? So let's go to update switch real quick. In order to update the switch, what do we need? We need access to our own material, which means we need access to our own mesh renderer. All right, so here you're gonna say private mesh render, mesh render MR, semicolon. Okay, now MR needs to be set up in setup. So right here to start, you go MR equals, and now I don't remember. We need to go take a look at the prefab. So prefabs, map, entities, switch, model. That's it. So it's got. So we go to transform.find, open round quote, model, close quote. And no, you need to get the component.
Yeah, we need the mesh render.
Close of type, open close rounds. Alright, so that's correct. Now copy MR, and we're gonna update the switch here at the bottom. So here you're gonna say paste, and you go dot material, dot set color, open round, and now wait. So what we're gonna need is we need the ID of the color. So just as much as we have the door ID, we're gonna create a private int, and it's going to be color ID, semicolon. Now the problem is this only can happen after assign. So update switch shouldn't really be here. It should be after assign. So cut this, put it.
That was copy.
That's fine. Cut it. Put it right here. Save. Okay. And we're gonna get the color ID. Well, we can get it right here, so it doesn't particularly matter. Paste it here. Color ID equals. Whoa, that went wrong. Just type color ID. Yeah, equals c.g. So we have the green.
Yeah.
Now we need to excuse me, we need to multiply this value by 5. So we're going to multiply. Now, multiplying by 5 I'm not a huge fan of. And the reason why I'm not a huge fan of multiplying by 5 is because the number of colors could change. We could make 10. So instead of 5, we're going to say, I'm going to change this to public here. Type it public. Actually, let's make this public too. Okay, save.
We
Copy.
don't need the equals default now, right?
It's fine. If it stays there, it doesn't hurt anything. But you need map.script first.
Oh yeah.
Dot switch by colors dot length. And cast it as a float. Close. And now the fun part is that we need to go back to int. So mathf dot round to int. Open round and close round right here. Semicolon. Alright. So this is all correct. Copy this entire thing and go to the spikes and paste it right here. Copy this and paste it right here. Save. Okay, so we got the color ID, etc. Now one thing we need to do right here is we need to update this as well. Now the problem with the spikes is we have numerous spikes, not just one, right?
Yeah.
Each of them has a has its own mesh render. Now, so there's a problem here, and the problem that we're going to have is this. If you change the material of each individual mesh render, you're going to create 4 separate instances because you have 4 spikes of the same material, which means 1 batch for each of them. Fairly inefficient. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to create 1 single material first, and then we're going to modify the material and assign it to all of the mesh renders. So what are we going to need for that? Right here, you want to create a private array of mesh render.
Not mesh render.
Mesh renderer array, and call it MRS, semicolon. Save. And you're also going to create a private material mat. Semicolon. So for this, we're going to have a material we can take as a starting template. I think we should put it in the map. So right here, you're going to put a public material spike material template. Templatier. Semicolon. Save. Okay, so we have something we can instantiate. So copy it. Let's go to spikes. Alright. So there's the private material mat. That's good. And do we need anything else? No. So here's what we're going to do now. You're going to say mrs equals spike container, because that's what contains our spikes.
Yeah.
Dot get components in children. Yep, that's the one. Of type mesh render. Yep, close of type, open close round, semicolon. So now you have all of the mesh renders, right?
Yeah.
Now you go mat equals instantiate open round. Instantiate open round. Map.script.paste.
Yeah, we had that template that we just made.
Dot paste. Yep. Close round. Semicolon.
Oops.
Now, because this is not an object or anything that actually has a transform, you don't need to worry about position, rotation, or anything like that. It's just a material.
We've
So
got
now
some errors.
you have the material. We'll worry about them later. So you got the material. Now what you're going to do is you're going to assign the correct color to the material. Well, not quite yet. What we're going to do right here, you're going to say mat.setColor open round quote underscore capital color. No, capital C. see what you did. Close the quote, comma, map.script dot colors, whatever we called it, I don't remember. That's the one. Square bracket, color ID. Close square bracket, close round, semicolon. Okay, so that's all good. And what we're gonna do now that we've got this is we need to assign the material to each MR. So you're gonna say for tab, and you say mrs.length. And here you're gonna say mrs I dot shared material equals mat, semicolon. Okay, so now the spikes are all correctly set up and everything's fine. The switches are not, they're missing something. So the mr.material set color, so each switch is gonna have its own material. It's fine, we can live with that. Okay, so mr.material set color, you need to do quote underscore color as you did before, capital C, close quote, and no, comma, and you can actually go and copy this thing, copy it, and paste it, save. So that's the color set up correctly. And now what you want is you want to also select which texture you want. So you're going to say mr.material.setTexture. Open round, quote, underscore, main text. Close quote, comma, map.script dot textures, there, spike switch texture, square bracket. Now, how do you decide which one? That's fairly easy. You only got two, right?
Yeah.
What does it depend on?
Open or closed. We need to ask if it is open or closed.
Right, so ask.
So I can make an F right here?
Yeah, remember you can do a tertiary operation, right?
Yeah, that.
So pressed, question mark.
If it's pressed.
If it's pressed, which texture do you want, 1 or 0?
If it's pressed, you want 1.
Alright, and if it's not pressed?
If it's not pressed, that's a column.
Then
Then you want 0.
Close the square bracket, close the round bracket.
Oh, square bracket.
Semicolon.
Open one.
Alright, so when you press the switch, it updates it. Yes, it does. Okay, we should all be good. So this should work perfectly, theoretically. Hopefully.
Is there a way to test?
Oh yeah, this will be testable very soon, actually. So I'm just thinking, there's another thing that we need to assign to the world, which is the actual material. It's missing a material for entities for the spikes. Boop. There's the material. It should work right away. We should get red for both. Let's go and immediately fix the map, so we don't have to worry about that. Now it's at GIMP map. All right, now. All right.
We have to fix.
So we need to.
We have to
fudge.
use the green channel, right?
That's right. We need to fudge the colors here, and it's not going to be obvious, right? So the entity info entities is what we're interested in. Let's hide the world for a moment. That doesn't help very much. So let's see. Now we've grouped together all the entities, so it kind of becomes a bit complicated to remember which is which. Oof, might have been a bad idea. So this switch over here opens this door over here. Now this is magenta, right?
Yeah.
So do we want this switch to be red? Which color would you like that basic switch to be?
Basic switch should just be red, the main color, yeah.
Okay, red sounds good. Then the other one, the one that has this switch and this switch over here, right, which currently, by the way, have no entity information.
Let's make that one the yellow.
Yeah, so this one, we're going to give it the yellow color. Okay, that means we need to go to the green and give it 20% green. 20% green is 51.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to give it the 51 right here in entity information. Right here, there. right here. Now for this one, it's a bit of a pain in the butt because it's perfect red, fine, but what we need to do is we actually need to add the perfect red to the green. Like this. So it looks odd. That's normal, okay? It's looking correct. So Control-Shift-E.
Control-Shift-E.
And we're gonna go to Textures,
Entity Infos.
Export, Replace. Export. Alright, let's see if all of this is working as it should. Okay, so that does look more or less like a switch, and that does look like a red switch. Now, we have a problem with our tutorial. The red switch looks like it's covered, but look, the spikes do look red, and the other spikes do look yellow.
Yep.
Ish. It's not perfect.
It's not, it's a bit
But
too light.
the red switch, okay, I went and pressed it, and it looks unpressed when you press it. Okay, so let's now press this one. Yeah, see? So when you press it, it looks unpressed. So do you know what happened there?
So we reversed it. We did
That's
unpressed.
Right. That's right. We simply reversed it.
That's why it didn't look so bright.
Exactly. Okay, so that's fairly easy. This one we should move because it's sort of hidden by the shadow, and it's not something we want to start with.
Yeah.
Right? When we want to
make
teach
it
players how to
plain
do
sight.
this, we want to make it as simple as possible. Later, we can challenge them more. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to cut this,
This.
paste it here. Okay. And cut this, paste it here. Okay. And I'd like in the tiles to actually add a little bit of the just around here. There, like this. And this switch now is sort of surrounded by dirt, right? Okay, that sounds good. And now this switch will open this gate. Okay, so now we need to export all of these. So let's begin with Control-Shift-E, map. Control-Shift-E, entities. Control-Shift-E, entity info. Okie doke. And now the last thing we need to do is we need to reverse these textures. Yeah, so see how we did pressed and unpressed?
Yeah, we need to do pressed in one and unpressed in the other.
Unpressed.
Pressed. Now it will work.
Now it should work fine. I've got the world selected. There we go.
That results in a lot of...
Lots of batches.
Yeah.
Okay, there's the yellow switch.
And it looks unpressed.
Looks unpressed. And there's the red switch.
And that also looks unpressed and also visible. Click.
And the spikes went down. You know what I'd like? I'd like those spikes to move a lot faster.
Test the bombs turning it on.
Oh, yeah.
Click. Except you got hurt.
Well, whatever. It worked, right?
Yeah.
So that's good. The bomb did turn on the switch. And now the switch is done. Now let's see if it's correctly going to realize whether it's locked or unlocked. So I'm going to leave.
And go back in.
Oh, poopies. It kind of worked. Ish.
I think it did.
Not really, because this is supposed to be the last switch you pressed and then you exit.
And it's still unpressed? Oh, yeah. You close it again.
Yeah, so that's interesting. I think it takes a little bit of time to figure out whether it should be pressed or unpressed. No, but you see the switch? It's also unpressed incorrectly. That's supposed to be pressed. So I think what's happening is the spikes are right. It's
But the
remembering the
switches
right,
aren't.
but the switches are instead not remembered. See? So that now works and I'm locked forever. Yeah, every switch was unpressed. Interesting. Now, we're kind of past our time by a distance, so we're going to stop. But we're going to write down all of our problems.
That's a good idea.
Okay, so player can float when reaching new room.
Oh
That's
yeah, that
definitely
was
the
last
case.
time.
Bug. Spikes go down too slowly, which increases the chance of jumping when making contact with
Teleportation.
Bug switches go back to unpressed. Wait, that bothers me though. Let's see. Because I think it's going to be something really silly. No, it's not. Get switch status. Yeah, we're going to have to actually check what's happening there. Switches go back to unpressed. Is there anything else?
Don't think so.
We're missing sounds, but that's obvious.
Yep. Missing sounds for everything.
Well, I mean, you know what? I'm bothered by bugs, especially when I know exactly what they are. So let's quickly go to our spikes over here and unlock this, and then just tell it, all right, spikies, open duration 0.5. And now it's gonna go. It's gonna go super fast. Let's see if it's too fast.
If we had made them slower, we could have added a creaking sound. Like they hadn't been opened in years.
Yeah, but it's cooler to have them fast, so it looked dangerous. It wasn't even that fast. I thought it would be a lot faster. Yeah, I want it faster.
It's not Insta, so.
I want it faster! Like...
These must be operated by some kind of robot.
No, but you know, like, spikes, generally speaking, should look dangerous, right? So a spike that comes up fast feels a lot more dangerous than a spike that comes up slowly.
Good point.
You know? So...
You don't want to be...
Okay, let's take a look there. Yeah, I think that's much better. Right? So it's going to be a lot more difficult to act a fool around the spikes. You're not going to catch me. I am running. Yeah, I much prefer that switch where it is now. You know?
No, unlocked.
See how quickly they went up? And I'm like, oh no! I want to try and quickly blast through. Yeah, so I jumped. But that's okay, this won't happen.
Darn.
I am locked though!
I have to go back to the fortress.
I'm so bothered by those switches not working. Rubbish. Okay, good. Good. So we're going to stop for today. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you again next time.
Bye.
Bye.